Hey, what is going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Trainer Talk. Today, we're going to be going over what you can control in your life versus what you can't control and what to focus on. A lot of times we hear people come into the gym and they are, usually talking about something like the weather or prices of things, and people stress out a lot over things that are out of their control. And a big part of what we do as trainers and coaches is try to help people live more of a stress-free life and how to basically optimize their health, their energy, and their daily productivity by being in control of their actions and decisions. So we want to try to shift your mindset from worrying about things that are out of your control and only focusing on the things that are in your control. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'll let Bethany kick us off.
Yeah. So I wanted to share like a personal story. There's obviously a lot of different things that I could tie this to, but anytime you're injured or sick is a big thing. Once it happens, you can't control, like you can't go back in time and prevent yourself from getting injured or prevent yourself from getting sick. So when I injured my ankle, I had to focus on what I could control because I couldn't go back and not get injured or not do that workout. I said, okay, what is it that I can control in this moment? I can still do workouts. I can still work out my upper body and my other leg, still eat right and fuel my body, but just, I'm not able to do the same things that I was doing before. So I focused on, all right, what can I control? Let go of, having those ideas of like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait to be healed again. And like, why did I have to do that? Like those thoughts just aren't productive thoughts because they're not helping you move forward. They're just kind of keeping you stuck in the past. So that was kind of what I focused on when I had something that was out of my control happen to me. A lot of circumstances you really can't control, but you can control your actions when they happen.
Yeah. So I also kind of want to tell like a personal story because I think this happens to a lot of I feel like the majority of the people we have in here are moms, right? Like people who have had kids or are having kids, whatever. And I'm halfway through my pregnancy. So far, I've been able to pretty much do the normal workouts that I've been doing since before pregnancy. Although lately I've been having like a lot of pelvic pain, hip pain, back pain, joint pain. And I thought, just going to the chiropractor would be able to fix it. But really, my body is just changing so much right now, and that's something that I can't control. It is just something that naturally happens. And so, all the joint pain and the hip pain isn't necessarily something that I can just fix by getting a chiropractic adjustment. I just pretty much was told I have to cut back on my workouts. I have to cut back on the heavy weights and stuff like that, which at first can be really defeating, and it can be can make a lot of moms just kind of give up and stop working out altogether while they're pregnant. And then obviously that's going to lead to a harder postpartum and bouncing back, as people would say, after having the baby, where, yeah, for a second I was upset that I can't do all the things that I want to do. But instead, now I'm focusing on, okay, what can I do instead of what I can't do? So I'm still going to have the healthiest pregnancy that I possibly can so that I can have a healthier postpartum and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like a lot of people that even I've worked with over the years, if they have some kind of limitation or injury come up, they say, hey, I need to take some time off. Right. I hurt my shoulder. It's like, hey, it sucks that you hurt your shoulder, but there's so many things that we can still work on. You can come in and do a bunch of legs. You can work the one arm. There's actually research that shows if you work one side of your body, you still actually maintain and can get some benefit in the other side. So even though you can't use that one shoulder, there's still so many things you can do. And actually that's something that I've been doing for the last month now. I've had something going on with my knee. I think it's a nerve issue. I go to a certain position and it just gives out on me. It's kind of like a light switch. It's zero pain, but as soon as I get to a certain spot, it just gives out on me. I don't know what's wrong with it. So I'm doing a lot. I've shifted my focus. Okay, I can't do all the heavy leg stuff that I was doing, but what can I do? I can do a lot more mobility, stretching, still work my upper body, do gymnastics. I can still do cardio. I can still do body weight stuff that's not too much pressure on my knee. So it's just basically becoming aware of, okay, I may not be able to do exactly what I want to do, but what can I do? What can I control right now in this circumstance. So with injuries, that's going to be very, very common. Pregnancy, maybe it's just lack of time or lack of energy. Like, okay, you want to work out for an hour, but you don't have time. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work out at all. Maybe it's just you adjust it and you do a 15 or 20-minute workout instead of a 1-hour workout. So in life, there's going to be literally always something going on. There's never the perfect time to do anything. You're never going to have all the time in the world to do exactly what you want to do in every circumstance. So you need to be able to ask yourself, what can I do right now? What am I in control of? And that's going to get me toward where I want to be, or help me maintain how far I've come. So for example, right now it's spring break for a lot of people, like in college, for example, there's a lot of people going on vacations. It's kind of out of your control if you're with a big group and you all go out to dinner. You don't really necessarily maybe get to choose where you go to eat, but you can choose what you get to eat. So make sure you're looking at the menu and maybe choosing something that aligns with what you would normally have, or just have something a little bit healthier. And obviously, as you've heard from us, like, it's fine if you have a bad meal every once in a while, but if you're on vacation for a week, you don't necessarily want to have a week's worth of bad meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So maybe you're becoming aware, okay, what can I do for breakfast and lunch, and then I'll just enjoy myself for dinner, something like that. So just becoming aware of what you are in control of can really help you stay on track or continue to get results in the long run. So it's more about adjusting your dial than just saying, can I do something or can't I?
Yeah, I think it's separating that black and white thinking and just like playing in that gray area in there. Obviously, especially with the nutrition, like you kind of touched on, you can make the best choice that's available in the situation you're in. So yeah, let's say you go out to dinner and it's a Mexican restaurant and pretty much everything there has like cheese and sauces, and you don't know exactly what's in the food, but there's going to be options where it's like, okay, there's chicken in this one and then there's very high fat beef in the other. Probably choose the chicken one if you're looking to save a few calories. Maybe don't have margaritas in the beginning, or maybe swap out your drink for something that's low calorie, or account for it that way. Don't get appetizers. I would recommend that probably too. Those are usually very high calorie, high fat, greasy. It's just not going to make you feel good, for one, and then two, it's just going to add a bunch of extra calories on. So if you're trying to stay on track when you're on vacation, just sticking to a decent meal, get some vegetables in there, hopefully a carb, a protein, and just make the best choice that's available for you at that time. And obviously, there's going to be times where it's an easier choice than others, depending on where you go. But there's always room to make the best choice, and I think that comes with practice of going out to eat. So like, don't be afraid of going out to eat because it's different from what you usually do. See it as like a experiment or a challenge to see how you can make it work. Like, okay, I'm going to go out to eat tonight with my friends. I'm going to see how I can make this work and still stay on track.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that too, like on the spring break vacations and stuff, like I think a lot of people struggle with like just traveling in general and not knowing like how to eat healthy, like at the airport or whatever the case is. And we're going on a trip this weekend, and I know I'm going to the grocery store to get a lot of protein bars, just high protein snacks, whatever I know that I can get through security to take with me. And then another thing I like to do is like scoop out servings of my protein shake and put it in little baggies, 1 serving per baggie. That can get through the airport security, and then you have protein shakes with you. And so then you're not like, oh, well, I didn't have anything to eat, so I had to go to the McDonald's in the airport. No, you have your snacks, and then there are times when, yeah, you need to grab a bite to eat at the airport. But again, there are usually like better options than a McDonald's burger. You can get something with chicken in it or whatever the case is. You just kind of have to look for those opportunities and just be more aware. And again, just be prepared by having those high protein snacks with you.
And just look ahead, like depending on where you're going, you might choose your destination based off what's around me. Like look ahead at the restaurants that are going to be close by and where you can eat and where and I would always recommend like having make sure you drink enough water. Like that's one thing you definitely can control when you're on vacation, especially is, especially if you're going to be having drinks every day, make sure you're staying hydrated. That can be a game changer for you. So drink water throughout the morning and the afternoon. And then if you have a couple of drinks, it won't be so bad. But yeah, just doing a little bit more research and being more prepared will definitely help out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the next piece of it would be the workouts themselves. So let's say you come into a group class workout and maybe you're beginner or you're intermediate, and you got people around you and they're throwing up super heavy weights like they're nothing, and they're going super fast, but you can't control what other people do in a workout. You can't control what weights they lift. Comparison is the thief of joy in that part. So by focusing on what you can control, which is what you do personally, that's where you're going to get the most benefit out of it, versus like focusing on what other people are doing, what other people are lifting for weights. And it's like, they're going to keep progressing no matter if you're doing it or not. So it just doesn't benefit you to think about them at all, unless you use it as a like, oh, if I work as hard as this person does, I can be as strong as them. Or if I go as hard as them in the Metcons, and if I'm as consistent as them, I can be as good as that. But comparing from where they are to where you are now is just, it's a waste of mental energy, and it stresses you out for really no reason. I think a lot of people might fall into that. Everyone has days where they get kind of discouraged with that, and just reminding yourself of why you're here. It's for you to get better, to be you becoming the best version of yourself. It's not you compared to this person or you compared to that person. So I think that's a big mental part of the workout sometimes.
Yeah, kind of to go off of that, I noticed specifically with some of my clients who both of them have like back issues. And I think it's hard for them in a class, and I think this is a lot of people, kind of like Bethany said, like they look at everybody else who are deadlifting super heavy or whatever the case is, and they're like, oh, I want to do that no matter how bad my back hurts. And then they end up hurting themselves even more. So obviously, like, everybody's got kind of like their own issues, and you can't really control that. You can't control if you're having I mean, you can do things for it, but you can't control in that moment if you're having back pain or shoulder pain. So you need to kind of let go of your ego and tell one of us, whoever is teaching the class, that you're having these problems, because we will help you kind of figure out a modification or tell you to go lighter or whatever the case is. But if you push yourself too much in those situations, then you're just going to make it worse. And then that's when things really escalate and people really fall off, because then they just give up altogether.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like, for example, right now, for the majority of us coaches and a couple of the athletes that train here, we follow the same program. And for the last 4 weeks, I've had to just kind of skip out on most of the heavy strength stuff. And while I'm watching, Katie and some of the other athletes do the lifts that I want to do, but I know in my head that I need to just give my knee a little bit more time and work on what I need to do, what I'm able to do in this circumstance, until it heals and gets better. And then I can get back to doing what they are doing. So perfect example, it's just like, yeah, it stinks not being able to do what I'm used to being able to do, but I know that hopefully it's just temporary. And once I get it figured out, I'll be back able to do it. So, and this could be directly related to beginners. You come into a class and you're not able to do nearly what everybody else can do. Understand that those people started in the same position. They were also beginners at one point in time. They had to slowly build up. You don't know how long somebody's been lifting or training, how much work they've put in to get to that heavy deadlift or whatever they're doing. So just understand that it's all a part of the process, and you just need to be able to do what you can do in that moment, with your nutrition and with your workouts and with your mindset mentally. So, there's so many things going on in our world, and I feel like people really get stressed out and beat themselves up over all these things that are just completely out of their control. We hear it all the time. There's so much gossip every class about all these things going on in our outside world that are completely out of our control. And I try not to think about it. I only think about what I can do in my own life to move me toward my goals of becoming a better version of myself. And I'm not worrying about anything that it makes no difference. I can't do anything about it. So I'm not going to stress about it or ruin my day over it. I'm just going to do the best that I can do every day with what I've been given. Pretty much.
Yeah. I think one thing as a personal experience is watching the news. It's my parents will watch the news, but then they just complain about it the whole time. And I'm like, why do you watch the news if you're just going to sit here and complain? But I think, well, that's a whole other tangent. But anyways, I don't really watch the news. I will, if something happens, I usually hear about it from someone else because they watch the news. And like the whole weather balloon thing and random stuff like that, it's like, how does that affect me? It's not really something I can control that it's happening. It's everything on the news, they're just trying to get an emotional reaction out of you. It just drains you, makes you either mad or make you scared of the world, and it's just not serving a lot of people at this point. It's more of like just what kind of attention they can grab from people, which is really unfortunate. And another like avenue with that is people get caught up in, we were talking about this, of like prices of things, politics. It's stuff that we really can't control. The only thing we can really control is like our own choices. We vote for things with our dollars, and obviously we vote in real life too. And if you really hate the prices of eggs, stop buying eggs.
Yeah.
And if if that's the biggest problem in your life, then I think that we're all living pretty good lives. I would say that. We got a lot of first world problems, or champagne problems, as we call them. We all have, hopefully most people have running water, heat, and a good foundation and place to stay, and all the basic needs are met. And, it's different things for different people for what they're struggling with or what they would complain about, because people, they always find problems in everything. And so, just kind of taking a self audit of like, what is it that I'm truly complaining about, or is this worth my time and energy to focus on?
Yeah.
I think it's something that would help people, at least like with their stress, since everyone's so stressed out, help them to reduce a little bit of that stress too.
Yeah, and I think also just remembering like how good you pretty much have it, even like going back to kind of like being able to work out, whether you have an injury or not. Like even if you have a shoulder injury or a back injury, there are still things that you can do compared to people who are paralyzed in a wheelchair or in the hospital with cancer or whatever the case is. Like when you really think about that, like it doesn't mean that your problems are not problems or not relevant. Like they are, and you can take a moment to like feel sorry for yourself when you're going through something. But then just like being able to, again, focus on what you can control, focus on what you can do, and being thankful that your body is still walking and breathing and alive, I think is just really important.
Yeah, it's basically just comes down to practicing gratitude. People don't do it enough at all. They constantly think about their problems and the things that they need to do, and they're stressing about what they haven't done or what they need to do, but they don't ever take a second to stop and think about all the things they have to be grateful for, what they can do and accomplish. There's what you got to realize is no matter what situation you're in right now, there's always going to be somebody in a worse situation. And I always think about that. For every person that walks in here and says I don't have time to work out, in my mind I automatically think, so this person's admitting that they're the world's busiest person. I'm 99.99% sure you're not the world's busiest person. You're just making an excuse. There's always somebody busier than you, doing more than you, that is healthier, fitter, and making time for the things that you want to do. So it just comes down to actually making the conscious decision of doing it. So that's kind of the gist of what we're trying to get across here, is try to focus on the things that you are in control of and make the best of it. Like you have to make the conscious decision to, okay, are there things that I am focusing a lot of time and attention on that have no role in my life or aren't going to get me anywhere further in my life or toward my goals? And are there things that I'm neglecting or not doing that can get me toward my goals that I should start to focus on and spend more time on? And we like to say, like, as long as you do the things that you're supposed to do 80% of the time, you're going to make great progress and become the person that you want to become, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got.
I think that wraps it up pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was one other quote that I was going to say, but I kind of forgot it. I just shared it, and it was kind of like the harsh reality. I just wanted to throw that out there. because a lot of the times people, one of the things that we hear is people don't have time to work out, or they don't have time to meal prep, or whatever it is. All you really need is a half hour, 3 days a week, which is an hour and a half a week out of 168 hours, which is like less than 1%, I think, of your time. And the average person, I think, spends 3 or 4 hours on their phone at least, like going through and having time on their phone every single day. So it's not that you don't have time; it's just that you're unproductive. Basically, is what the quote was. So, just wanted to end with that, because you need to make the decision to start thinking about where you're spending your time and how you can control your time better. Create a routine to where you are going to get to where you want to be. So set those goals, create a routine, and try not to worry about or stress about the things that are completely out of your control. Only focus on the things that you have control over, and just do your best to live your best, pretty much. And I think you'll notice a big increase in your happiness, your results, your quality of life, everything. So hopefully this helps. Until the next video, make sure you like and subscribe so you can see all of it. It also helps us out so we can get the videos out to more people. But until then, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one.